What's up, everybody? I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22, and this has been the NFL week number 4. Yeah, we're
It's,
week
it's a
4.
long one, I know.
Yeah, I didn't even realize we were that far into the season already. But yeah, as always, here with me is my co-host Derek Wesley, also known as DWeezy. What's going on, man?
Man, it's just another week, ready to dive into these lines. Thursday night football is right around the corner. Um, we're never too far from football.
Yeah, well, so we'll be getting into all the betting knowledge that you are looking for, and our 5 best bets of the week. But as always, before we get into those, we have to go over what happened in week 3, and take a look back there. And we'll start with the trends. Well, the trends were there wasn't really any trends at all. Straight up, I mean, it kind of was typical what happened. Was home teams 12-4, favorites 12-4 against the spread. Home teams 8-7-1, uh, and the favorites 8-7-1. And we'll say what's up to Jay. What's going on? Yeah, yes, I do not. I'm the one that doesn't have his fingernails painted. But that quarterback did beat my team, so can't really talk about that. But like I was talking, but back to the trends. Like I said, it was pretty even down the middle for both home teams, both favorites. Overs were 8, and guess what? The unders were 8. So it was absolutely no trends here. There was no edge either way. Going forward, I can't. I'm a guy that likes to bet with the trends, but looking at the numbers from last week, I can't really go either way on this one. So I'm just gonna have to go with all gut. Uh,
Yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit of some numbers readjusting. The books moving the lines a little bit as we get a better feel for what some of these teams can do, and that's reflected a bit in an even week. That's what the book wants. It wants that 50-50 action on both sides. And if you're talking about literally just about every one of your more common trends out there falling 50-50, I think the book's looking at a week like that pretty happy.
yeah, absolutely. So we'll get into how we did last week, and it was better than week 2, but not much better. I just went 2-3. Um, my best pick was the Colts -6 at the Titans. They blow them out 41-20. Yeah, I never thought putting your money on Daniel Jones would be a safe bet to make, but for the first 3 weeks, it really has cashed in for you as a as a 6 point favorite on the road in a divisional matchup. But man, what he and the Colts have been doing is pretty damn amazing. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor has been awesome. Another 102 yards, 3 touchdowns in that game. He's probably the biggest reason for the success, but also the O line has been putting in work, and the weapons outside have really made a difference for Daniel Jones, and made him into a pretty good quarterback. I'm going to continue to put my money on him going forward, until he proves otherwise.
Yeah, and definitely in a lot of these matchups, you're talking about some of the lesser defenses across the league, and Daniel Jones has gone out there and shown us that he's not the same person that he was in New York. Now, is it a completely different situation? Absolutely. Is it still early in the season and could all this be fool's gold? Of course. But as it stands right now, it's looking pretty damn good for Daniel Jones out there in Indianapolis. Moving to probably what my best play on the week was, going up against a certain man's Cowboys this past week. I said Caleb Williams was going to be able to attack a poor pass defense, and that's really what we got. Now, yes, I think it would have been a more interesting game if we hadn't have seen Lamb get hurt as early into the game as he was pretty much a non-factor for the entire game because of that. And in the circumstances like that, it's hard to say how the game's going to flow. after a major injury such as what we saw. And, you know, that just played more into my hand, I think, gave me, maybe a few more opportunities on the offensive side of the ball. But clearly, Caleb Williams had no problem clearing his passing mark. I believe it was 236 and a half, went well over that. So it was a good day for, Chicago fans going up against the Cowboys.
Just a good, it's just atrocious defense. So yeah, I mean, you can bet a lot uh, against the Cowboys defense. Any type of prop bet that you can find that has the opposing offense, just take the over on everything, except for rushing. We can stop the run. It's one thing we can do. But we'll get into my worst pick, and that was the Packers -7 at the Browns. They lose 10-13, and probably the most surprising game of the week. I mean, I don't think anybody had the Browns upsetting the Packers. So just even not even with the spread, just straight up. I mean, this was just incredibly surprising. Um, the way the Packers been playing the first 2 weeks, I mean, you really thought they were unstoppable, and then they just get defensively dominated by the Browns and completely collapse. They were leading 10-0 with like a few minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then this is how the rest of the game went. It went from Browns field goal to Browns interception to Browns touchdown to Browns block field goal, and then they get a field goal to win the game. Just a series of events that just couldn't have been foreseen. Even with that 10-0 lead, I was covering the spread, and then just all that crap just had to just come down like an avalanche. And yeah, I just bet wise just could not anticipate that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I didn't even anticipate the. I mean, I could say yeah, -7. Maybe they don't cover, but I just could not even foresee the outright upset there.
Yeah, this is definitely one that Green Bay let slip away, and I think that's putting it lightly. It's a great example of how important special teams can still be in the NFL today. We saw it in a number of games, block kits being a focal point of the outcome of the game. We saw it last week, either week 2 or week 3 in that Indianapolis Colts Denver game, where crucial penalty, whether it was a good call or not, you saw special teams play a critical role in the outcome of the game, swinging from one side to the other. So, it's something to keep in mind. Uh, Maybe in a live instance, definitely hard to handicap from a pregame scenario, but definitely a rough loss for anybody that had Packers money out there.
Jay says Panthers kicker was confusing the Falcons special teams.
Um, yeah, I think what he's referring to, something that's become a little more common with your NFL kickers, is finding ways to kick the ball where it won't be fielded cleanly. Um, Almost a more knuckleball concept where the ball's flight path, not typically what you would see. Um, I think this is something that was adopted a little bit from the former Panthers kicker Johnny Hecker. These were things I heard about when he was on the team, and as I just mentioned, if you can find the edge in special teams, if you can find a way to get a guy to muff a punt, to not field it cleanly, um, maybe misjudge the flight of the ball while it's in the air and decide not to fair catch it, and what would have been taking the ball at the 10, 12 yard line turns into getting the ball inside the 5. So there's definitely some hidden aspects within the special teams, especially from the kicking aspect, that you can try and take advantage of. But yeah, just we definitely saw in a number of games this week how valuable special teams can still be in 2025. Now, moving into my worst play from last week, you know, I faded my Panthers. I said somebody was going to get multiple TDs, and nobody got a single TD as my Carolina Panthers defense. When I'm not sure that was the Panthers out there on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe some helmets got switched up, maybe some teams went to the wrong places, but where's that defense been? Can we get that week in and week out? I don't care what the offense does. Give me that. It doesn't have to be a shutout every week, but that was, beautiful to see as a fan, horrible to see as somebody that needed Bijan Robinson to score two TDs, which, you know, after about halftime, you're pretty much looking at the game like, is this ticket dead? Because that was the case. As you see, the Falcons failed to put up any points. The Panthers kicker was confusing people. I think the Atlanta's Falcons kicker was confusing people because he missed two early field goals, and I think that was the last shot at points they had for the rest of the game.
And he says Derek Brown could do no wrong. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Panthers defense showed up big time. Yeah, that was a surprising win as well. I wouldn't think a lot of people had the Panthers. Even if they did have the Panthers, they definitely did not see a 30-0 win. So
I did hear there were a nice number of entries in the Circa Survivor contest. Not the majority of entries, but a solid percentage of entries were taking Atlanta to beat Carolina in that game, and clearly a lot of people got it wrong.
um, PBC 213 says interested to know what y'all think about my Rams. I like the Rams. Uh, um, Obviously they should have won. I mean they had the game in hand. Um, against the Eagles. But yeah, I mean, as far as betting wise, I like the Rams putting money on them. Just not this week. If that's a little spoiler for what I plan to pick, but for most of the season, yeah, they're a really good team. So there's a really good team to bet.
Yeah, from a football standpoint, definitely like what the Ravens could do. I think they're gonna go as far as Stafford stays upright. Yeah, that I think that's the crucial linchpin in this offense. The questions surrounding his house coming into the season. Now we haven't seen that really affect anything on the field. So as long as they keep him upright, I think this offense can keep chucking right along. Sean McVay has shown year in and year out he's going to get the job done with whatever he has out there. It might not always be the prettiest thing, but more times than not, we're talking about the Rams walking away with the victory. And with the talent they have, you've got a smart quarterback in Stafford who can still, launch the deep ball when he wants to. You have, talent like Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams out there. You got the running game with Williams. So there's a lot of ways this offense can attack you, and the defense does enough to where the offense doesn't have to be superhuman to win games. Unfortunately, they saw the L this weekend against the Eagles, but as an underdog in that situation, I think you got to feel more victories suck, but I think that's one game you still feel good about, even though the outcome of that field goal went the way that it did.
I know that was probably one of the biggest bad beats of ever. I mean, you literally if even if it's just a block field goal, they still cover that spread, getting the points there. But the fact that he has to run down and actually go get a touchdown is just a killer. I mean, that is just a horrible way to lose a bet, and especially when the smart thing would have done that he should have done was just go down and just end the game like that. But no, no, he had to ruin everybody's day and lose a bunch of people money by going in for that touchdown. Just travesty right there. But yeah, so we'll get back. That is what happened. Now, what that'll wrap up week number three. But before we get into our week four best bets of the weekend, if you guys can go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you really want to help us out, you can go ahead and donate in several ways. We have the links in the description down below. If you want to join Patreon, join Coffee, anything like that, whatever suits you, we very much appreciate it. And we very much appreciate for you to tune in and watch our show. So, yeah. Um, thanks for doing all that. And we will now get into our. You didn't say your record, by the way.
Oh, well, I went 2-3 this past week. Turning things around a little bit. Um, still, you want to see the winning side of things, and so not going to be happy until we get 3-2, 4-1. Heaven forbids 5-0 with a clean sweep. But let's get to some winning.
Yeah. Yes, we do have merch. Not for this show particular. We're working on
Hey, we're working on some stuff.
working on some stuff. But as for the channel name, we do have merch on that has the Good Friend Better Rivals channel name on it. So if you want to go and purchase that, uh, again, the link is in the description down below. So you go ahead and click there, and yeah, go and get you some merch. Um, yeah, we'll say what's up to my dad as well. What's going on? Um, all right, you ready? Well, since we both went 2-3, I guess we'll go. I guess I'll start again. Um, and I'll start with the Vikings at the Steelers. Steelers are again 2.5 points, and I'm going to take the points here. This obviously is a neutral site game taking place in Dublin, Ireland. I think the Vikings are favored for one because they dominated last week. So I think a lot of people are going to heavily bet them because of that. But I think that's a little bit of a little bit of fool's gold there. Because they dominated over the Bengals, who don't have Joe Burrow. They looked really bad. So I think that was more about the Bengals looking bad than it was the Vikings looking good. And this line with the 2.5 points favored, I think that's more of them saying that they want people to go on. They know the Vikings will be heavily betted because of that. And this obviously the Steelers haven't looked great. They did get the win last week, and Rodgers hasn't been great, but he's been stable enough to at least have the defense come along. Obviously, the defense struggled in the first two games, but in the last game, last week game, they finally started to come along. And if Wentz starts again, I think there's a little bit of tape out there for how he looks in this Vikings offense. But if JJ McCarthy starts, then we've seen two games of that, and it has not looked good for basically all but one quarter. So I don't like their chances with him. And I really just think this game comes down to who makes the least mistakes. If Rodgers takes care of the ball, or then I think it'll be a low defensive type of game, and I'll take the team that's going to get the points, and because I think pretty much with things all equal, I think that because it really is as equal as you can get. I think they're about as good as each other with how their teams are looking so far. And at a neutral site game, I think things can be as much equal as possible in this situation. So I'll take the team that's going to get the points.
Yeah, in this game, I would definitely like the matchup better if it was home side, but I just think there's no real way to know what you're going to get out either team. Now, I think maybe the game total under is potentially something to look at for this game.
It could. I mean, it just really depends on the quarterback situation. I mean, who's starting, who's not. Just depends, and it really depends on the Steelers defense if they're gonna play like they did last week or they're gonna play like what they did in the first 2 weeks. So it could and could not. Yeah, you can get to your first bet.
Yeah, making my first play this week. I'm going to Trey McBride in a bit of a different market. Going to the longest reception on the day, over 20 and a half yards. This has been a very pass heavy offense in Arizona. And, you know, from what we've seen out of Seattle's defense, they could force them more into passing situations throughout the game. They'll be without Connors out there. We'll have Trey Benson starting. Seattle has been better in the run immensely versus the past this season, and so I wouldn't be shocked if we see them shut down the run game and see Arizona lean more on that passing game. And for Seattle, their linebackers and safeties have struggled greatly in coverage against and receiving opportunities, and that's exactly what Trey McBride does. This is a number that we've seen him clear many times before. They do like to utilize him in that 10 to 15 yards, and more. But he's even though you see him line up on the line of scrimmage, he's working his way downfield, and he also has the ability to make a man or two miss, run through a tackle. So to get over that 20 and a half yards, we don't necessarily need a broken coverage in him, potentially on a 30, 40-yard pass or anything like that. So minus 105, minus 110, depending on where you find it. Would have loved to find this number at a plus. And that's another instance. If I was more confident in Sam Darnold, I'd be happier going after JSN props. But the question is, how much can you trust Sam Darnold? And through 3 games so far, you can trust him. But you know, when how long does that last? When do the ghosts pop up?
All right. Well, I get to my next bet. That be the aforementioned Rams and Colts. Like I said, I do like the Rams. I think they're a good team, but I'm taking the Colts plus 3.5. Um, it's just when teams are hot, I like to keep riding that hot streak until it ends. Because I like trends, and since there was no trends, I'm gonna go with the trend that the Colts keep on winning, and so as long as they keep on winning, and I'm gonna keep putting my money on them. They won. One of my wins last week, so I'm gonna bet them again. Rams coming off of, like I said, brutal loss to the Eagles, yeah, which they had in hand. Um, but Shane Steichen got this Colts offense rolling. He's getting the best out of Daniel Jones, along with the leading rusher in the league. And Jonathan Taylor just looks unstoppable. Um, I think the Rams have a bad hangover from a loss, and I think the Eagles are gonna. I mean, from the Eagles, and I think they're gonna get upset by the Colts. Yeah, obviously that's not going to make PBC too happy, but that is my bet. Obviously, I haven't been right for too much longer. Like I said, you don't have to go with my bets because I haven't been right so far in the last couple of weeks, but so you could definitely fade me. That's all good, well and good.
Yeah, but I'm right there with you. You gotta, if you're betting on this game, I think you gotta be backing the Colts in this situation. You know, it might just be a perfect storm of what was needed to, get production out of Daniel Jones. Because clearly, something's different in Indy than what we saw in New York. We all thought. Last year with Aaron Jones coming from Green Bay. What will we get out of him? And a lot of people were surprised by the production and the play that we got there. Shane Steichen, he was a heavily coveted offensive mind coming out of Philly a couple years back when he, landed the head coaching job in Indy. So is it shocking? Yes. Is there maybe, a little traction behind why these things came about? Absolutely. And until we see otherwise, it's hard to get in front of this Indianapolis Colts offense and think that they're not going to have success. Now, going into my next play, you know, we got another high-powered offense out there this season, going out to the Detroit Lions, going after St. Brown, an anytime TD at plus 120. You look at his stats from this year. He's got 4 TDs in the last 2 games, 16 receptions on 19 targets, and he's racked up 192 yards. His ability in space to make people miss and to get open. He's a threat to take it to the house anytime he touches the ball. There's the potential you see him get the ball in his hands in a rushing situation a time or two throughout the game. So there's multiple aspects that we could potentially find our way to the end zone. And you do run a bit of a risk in this Lions offense. You get so many weapons out there, but we've seen in the past, you know, St. Brown does not lack for targets. He does not lack for receptions. He brings in the targets that he sees, and often in a lot of situations, we see him find in the end zone. So getting this number at a plus number, I'm glad to walk away with St. Brown TD plus 120.
Yeah, he's been looking great so far. And plus money for that is so it's really good value there. So definitely like that bet. All right, we'll get to my third bet of the week, and that will be the Eagles at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks are getting plus 3.5, and I just think the Bucks have the Eagles' number. I mean, they have beaten them out of 7 times that they have played, and they are 2-5, and the Eagles are just 2-5 against the spread in those games. Um, so I like I said, the Bucks just seem to beat the Eagles all the time. So both teams coming in this game 3-0. The Bucks are once again uh, win again with a nail biter for the third straight week. Eagles, obviously, we already talked about it. Comeback victory that they were about to lose, but Jalen Hurts, hasn't been really good, really that good. He hasn't really thrown the ball very much, and I don't think he'll be much of a threat here. But Saquon hasn't really rushed for 100 yards either in a game this season. The Bucks haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher this season, so I think the Bucks have managed there, and I think the Bucks have the power to go back and forth if it comes down to it, and I think that the Eagles. Um, that they'll go back and forth with the Eagles, and it will take a Baker Mayfield. Just like all these games, it'll come down to Baker coming out for the winning drive, and I think he'll do it, and he'll win the game as he's done 6 of 7 times. Well, obviously he hasn't been there, but the Bucks have beaten them that many times. So it's just something. It's always a team uh, that you have a certain problem with. You can't seem to beat. You don't really know why, and that's just the Bucks for the Eagles. You know, so that's why I like them.
Well, I'm definitely happy with the game script that has the Eagles at least trying to fight from behind, because my next play, we got Jalen Hurts over 19 and a half completions. Now, I did bump this number up, going after that plus money, getting this at
Well,
plus
as long as it's not
161.
yardage, I mean, you can have 19, and 19 over 19 completions for like 100 yards.
Exactly.
That's
There's
not
no,
going down very well.
and then on top of that, even if it doesn't lead to points, if we're talking about a situation with them being behind late in the game, maybe even a decent lead where the defense is playing some soft coverages, you can easily pick up some extra completions, uncontested. So, being able to get 20, all I need is 20 plus 161. I definitely like that number. And, we seen in a close matchup last week them attempt over 32, a little bit out of characteristics, but Jalen Hurts was still able to complete 21 of those. been very efficient on the year, 71%, I believe. And I think we can get a lot of that out of this game, where you see potentially not necessarily struggles out of the run game with Saquon, but you are talking about one of the better run defenses in the league. So, are we potentially talking about a few more third and sevens versus third and fours, and end up passing the ball a little bit more? So, like I said, with that plus number, 20 completions, plus 161. Let's go, Eagles.
Well, they could just tush push it for 4 downs and see if that works. Just go all the way
How
down.
long do you think it would take for him to move the ball downfield, just tush pushing every play? Score a touchdown, then the other team has like
I
what,
mean,
a minute?
they might as well try it. I mean,
You know,
it
leave the
might,
other team with like a minute and a half to score in the first half. Like, here's your possession.
yeah,
Win games 14-3.
that would definitely hurt your chances. That wasn't that bad though. All right, we'll go move on to my fourth bet, and it will be the Los Angeles Chargers minus 6.5 at the New York Giants. Um, yeah, this will be Jackson Dart's first start in his NFL career. Rookie quarterbacks, they don't usually do very well in their debuts. Um, it'll especially be difficult going against a 3-0 Chargers team with the fourth ranked defense, and they are top 10 in all the major categories on defense. And that's how Jim Harbaugh wins. I mean, he wins by playing good defense and running the ball. And, you know, they're going to be able to run it against the Giants, who have the 31st worst run defense. And they're going to be able to play great defense against a rookie quarterback. They'll definitely put some pressure on him and give him a tough time there. So Chargers 6-1 against the spread last 7 games. Giants 3-12 against the spread in the last 15. Yeah, I just think the Giants get blown out in this game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you because I'm on the other side of the ball with the Chargers offense and Lad McConkey to record a touchdown plus 170. You know, Traditionally, yes, what we see out of Hardball is run the ball on offense. Well, so far this year, we've seen the passing game excel. They're throwing for 252 a game so far, and they're going up. I believe a team that's like 30th in pass attempts allowed. The Giants
They're
defense has
pretty
not done
pretty
well.
low on the rankings on all defensive categories.
Yeah, I mean, pick your category. It's bottom five, bottom six, if not worse. So there's a lot of ways this offense is going to be able to attack the New York Giants in this game, and we've seen Lad not struggle from the receiving aspect. He's been targeted at least 5 times in every game, and he's had at least 5 receptions in every game so far this season. Though he's yet to find the end zone, this is the week we break through. New York Giants, bad defense, Lad McConkey, TD plus 170.
I don't know how you end up picking prop bets in the same games that I'm betting.
It is truly
That's
wild
weird.
because there's no planning to this. I mean,
No,
that shows you that good matchups exist out there.
you're picking
And
the matchups, and because of the matchups, that's why I like picking the teams that have the good
exactly,
matchups. Oh, so all right, yeah. Like I said, we don't plan, we don't talk about it. We just come in not knowing what each other's gonna bet, but somehow he's betting all the props that have all the games that I'm betting. But uh, we'll finally get to our final bets of the week, and for mine, that will be the it'll be your Panthers plus 5.5 at the New England Patriots. If I was ever going to bet the Panthers, I mean, I think this would be the week against a Patriots team that does not look very good, um, and a Panthers team that obviously came off of a complete dominant 30-0 win in a divisional rivalry game. Um, so definitely, and then I don't understand why the Patriots are laying so many points. I mean, this is not a team that should be laying 5.5 points against anybody. I don't care if it is the Panthers or whoever it is. They should not be laying. They should be not that big of a favorite against anybody, really. So yeah, the Patriots only win came against the lowly Miami Dolphins. And it obviously wasn't as impressive as the Panthers were last week, but you didn't. It didn't just start last week. It actually started in the Cardinals game and the comeback that they had late in the game. That's when the Panthers started to look good, and then they carried that over into the next week. And I think they can just keep building off of that into this week against the Patriots. So that's why I like the Panthers to keep improving, keep getting better, and they'll show it out this week. And the Panthers are actually surprisingly good against the spread. 9-3 in the last 12 games. That really shocked me. They may not win, but they do cover, and so they that might be the case here. They might not win, but they probably will cover. So I do like them getting 5.5 because I just can't see the Patriots winning by more than 3 points.
Yeah, that would be my inclination here. That we could be talking about a game like you just said. Panthers don't win outright, but cover on the spread 5.5. You easily lose by three, lose by four. You're still covering that number. Um, yes, my Panthers had a very impressive week out there, just putting belt to ass when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. Can we see a repeat? Why not? Go for another shutout. Why not? Because nobody was talking last week about the Panthers shutting out the Falcons. So nobody's talking about it again. Let's 2 for 2 on this. Now where's the prop that I can bet this and make like 20 to 1 on whatever I put down. Yeah, but yes, we're not going to see the same results that we saw last week. But if the if we see a close game, I definitely think the Panthers have shown that they're a team that when they figure it out, they can go stride for stride with a lot of teams in this league. So, as you said, the last six, basically quarters, the Panthers have been a different team than what we saw in the first half. Well, the first 6 quarters of the season, basically. But it'll be a very interesting outcome if the Panthers defense can, play respectably. The offense maybe figure out a few things. Could be talking about Panthers outright win, or like you said, a very close loss covering on the spread. Now going to my next play, we're going to a guy that I did mention him last week, even though I was going with his teammate, and that's Dalton Kincaid. I was on Coleman last week for a touchdown. Flat out said, Kincaid is a viable option in this offense. And that first touchdown of the game, who does it go to? Dalton Kincaid. So, not going to let it burn me twice. Going to come back. Dalton Kincaid, very similar situation on the odds board. Plus 240 this week. He was about the same last week. Another situation where, like Coleman, 13 receptions on 16 targets, second on the team in receptions and yards. The only player on the team with multiple receiving TDs at the moment. Yes, it's early in the season, but we've seen in the past the Buffalo offense likes to move the ball through the tight end position when it comes to the pass game. And so I think that's something to definitely watch out for as this year progresses on. And this is one instance where, I'm trying to take advantage of that maybe before we see the books adjust to this number some.
Yeah, yeah. The reason why Josh Allen has been so efficient lately, getting the MP and whatnot, is because he's been able to spread the ball to all his receivers. Obviously, he doesn't have one guy to focus on without that big receiver and like Stephon Diggs, and so you definitely can bet on a, a rate of receivers or the tight end like you bet on to score. So yeah, he definitely spread the ball out so you can definitely make some money in betting that. So definitely like that pick. But do you have any more?
Well, I am waiting on one number to come out. You know, it was something we kind of touched on a little bit last week with a certain team missing a certain player, and now we see that sort of playing out this weekend. The matchup is the Green Bay Packers and the Cowboys facing off against each other. Got a revenge game for Micah Parsons. Bet to record a sack. I'm sorry. The man is out there healthy, playing strong, got his money, and is still hungry. Like he's been waiting on this game, and you know, from where I was looking, I didn't see any odds up yet. But when the books do start putting out some of those defensive odds, I would definitely look at the potential, playing one, if not two sacks in this game. Um, I was just curious what you would think about that.
Yeah, I mean, we have two offensive linemen hurt right now. Both Tyler Booker and our center Kabibi are out for this game. So if they want to put them in different areas, obviously Terrence Steele has extremely struggled at right tackle in pass protection. Been decent in the run game, but in pass protection he has gotten beat. Obviously, Guyton didn't have a great game last week, so yeah, I mean Michael Parsons getting after Dak. Um, that's probably a pretty good bet that he's probably going to get one. And yeah, Terrence Steele's food for this week. Yeah, yeah. I mean he's been not great in pass protection all season, and it's not even. I think it's been since for a couple seasons since his injury. He hasn't looked good in pass protection. Um, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, he's gonna want to shove it to Jerry Jones, and I kind of hope he does. Honestly, I kind of hope he does go off and kind of rub it in Jerry Jones' face just to prove how wrong he was. But that is our show. That's all our bets. So go out there and get your bets in. Please only bet what you can afford to lose. And yeah, you can tell everybody where they can find you, DWeezy.
Yeah, y'all, find me right here with Caleb, on Good Friends Better Rivals Network. Also, writing articles for the LGR website. Um, you know, gonna be trying to get into the other sports as things get up and going. We got basketball right around the corner, starting up in about a month. You got the NHL coming back. Um, so definitely be on the lookout for some betting content with the round ball and the puck coming back in season.
And you can find me at NFLK22 on Instagram and Twitter/X. You can find me on this channel on Fridays at 5 o'clock, doing Good Friends, Better Rivals, talking Cowboys, talking Giants. And we'll be sad for a while, like every week.
Hey,
Um,
y'all can come over to the Panthers. We know how to beat them bad teams. 30-0. Shutout, baby. We
yeah,
better than a lot of defenses out there, apparently.
no, I'll just stay and sulk with Ferris. Yeah. He and Ferris will also be doing play-by-play for the Giants on Sundays, which you know obviously will be not great for him, but you know we'll be there. We'll be talking that. All right, so tune in for that. Tune in for us next week, same time as always. Giving your five best bets. Hopefully, we have a good week because it's been pretty cold for the last couple weeks. So, but we'll make some money, and yeah, we'll do it again. Like I always say, let's get ready to make that money.